Drawing on over 4 decades of research, Mike Hallowell specializes in writing about the supernatural and paranormal phenomena. Although he also pens books and features about local history and other subjects, such as holistic healing. Michael J. Hallowell penned over a dozen books before his conversion to Islam. Some were on subjects such as herbal medicine, others on local history. The majority were on various aspects of supernatural, although, since embracing Islam, his views have changed regarding the origin of many paranormal phenomena. He is currently writing books on the same subject, but from an Islamic perspective. Michael Hallowell had worked in the crime prevention division of the police, and as a result, he worked closely with many people across diverse ethnicities and backgrounds. He used to address crime-related issues and advise those communities on crime prevention. In this capacity, he had worked among and with local Muslim communities. According to him, he always had a special affection for the Muslim people. He says it was something he couldn't explain, and he went on to further state that the Muslims were a community with a happy, contented, and positive mindset. Mike didn't like the hate spewed at the Muslims and Islam in the Western world, and he was always defensive against the abuse of the Muslims. As he said, "I didn't know much about Islam, but I didn't like it being criticized." Michael Hallowell also experienced a painful situation in his life with his son, who suffered from depression. He used to drink and gamble and lead a very negative life. He had no purpose in his life and had a somewhat warped outlook on life. Like he would say, all that life is about is just wake up one morning, get on the show, make as much money as you can, go with the flow, try not to get broke. Just basically a very negative view on life. Then, one fine day, this boy becomes Muslim. The entire view on life has changed, all bad habits curbed, and an extremely positive mindset has replaced the old, negative, warped one. Michael Hallowell and his wife were astounded by the change and were wondering how a religion could alter a person's thinking to this extent. They couldn't understand what Islam had within its powers to make a person in depression and seeped in vices to do a 360-degree turn and reform. As Mike's wife said in response to, "What is in Islam for you?" her swift reply was, "Islam gave me my son back." Subhanallah. The ways and means of Allah's mercy to those whose hearts are open to guidance are vast and uncountable. Mike spent many years investigating paranormal phenomena and has worked extensively with the police in cases related to these. A particular incident occurred where a family were being disturbed by something invisible, stalking them in their own home. The police were called to solve the case, and Mike Hallowell was called for his expertise as an investigative journalist. Many experts across different fields were called to solve this case, but to their mystery, they saw and heard things they had never experienced before. Mike himself couldn't get to the bottom of it. As he said in the decades of work as an investigative journalist, he had never come across a situation as such. It left them all in doubt, apprehension, and fear. It was an unsolvable case. Coincidentally, Mike bumped into a friend of his son, who was a Muslim, and Mike spent time relating the details of this case to him. He asked Mike if he had a copy of the Quran, and upon Mike replying in the affirmative, he asked him to refer to the Surah Jinn. Mike spent time reading and going through the translation of the Quran about the description of the jinn and their activities. And to this astonishment, the Book of Allah had all the answers to the multiple questions in his head. He says that the inexplicable behavior and events he had encountered in his work all tied up to these invisible beings mentioned in the Quran. Since Michael Hallowell had been assisting the police in these cases involving paranormal phenomena for years, he had many unanswered questions in his mind. There was no place and no person he knew who could answer his questions. Stumbling upon the Quran, upon the recommendation of his son's friend, was a vital turning point in the life of Michael Hallowell. It was the point that led him to turn to Islam. He reverted to the only true religion that has answers to all our questions. Michael Hallowell's father first reverted at the age of 78, and Michael followed suit soon after. Despite his father's old age, he was keenly interested in learning the Quran and about the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. Mike and his dad began learning these, and 2 years later, at the age of 80, Mike's dad returned to his creator. The interest they had initiated in learning Islam spread like flames through their family members, and before long, like a chain reaction, many other members of their family were Muslim. Allahu Akbar. Michael Hallowell says that the positivity and support he and his wife received from the local Muslim community were incomparable. There are organizations which teach the Quran and principles of the religion to new Muslims. And a point to note is that Mike says they never felt left out or alone. He mentions the bond between the people is amazing, and the unconditional support you receive as a new Muslim is immense. Michael Hallowell and his wife easily merged into the existing Muslim community of the area, where they were frequently invited to restaurants and other social gatherings. This is the beauty of Islam, my dear brothers and sisters. Allah and His Prophet had taught us to be kind, to be empathetic, and to be supportive of one another, especially to new Muslims. New Muslims usually have no support from their non-Muslim families. Therefore, it is upon the Muslim community to foster those feelings of brotherhood and encourage a healthy and supportive environment so that the old and new Muslims can live side by side in unity and happiness.